What did the Lions prove last night? Oh,
Swagger fully back.
Yep.
And
you think?
this is the most points they have scored in back-to-back games since the Bobby Lane days. So in at least 60 years. I actually didn't check if it was Bobby Lane.
Points.
I mean, it's 90. They've scored 90 points. They never did that in the Ben Johnson era. And they did it in a Lionsy way.
Yes.
The flip on the goal line.
That was a phenomenal
play.
From Amin Rod.
Yes, exactly. And the guts.
We got it right here.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
The gutsiness, not just of going for fourth downs, but what was so my concerns for the Lions going into the year were, how is the interior of the offensive line going to hold up? Last night they were phenomenal. How is Jared Goff going to be kind of emotionally after that playoff loss? Not only do I love that Dan Campbell went for that fourth down late in the game, up 7 at midfield, which I know Brew loves because he made it, to ice the game, but calling a play that says, Jared, we believe you. We've been running all over them. We can, nope, this is going to be Jared Goff. If you throw a good pass, we win the game. And they won it that way. And all of a sudden, week 1 just looks like, week 1.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they get Green Bay again. That's the other piece of it, because they're both contenders. It's nice, I think, if you're the Lions, that it's a divisional opponent, so it's not the only time you face them. Like, had the Eagles done that to them in week 1, feels a little different. But now you try to get some get back. So I think the Lions should feel, obviously, great about what they did last night.
Yeah, legitimate Super Bowl contenders, which I was having my concerns after week 1 and even week 2, because it was the Bears. I mean, and we'll see if the Bears can resurrect themselves this season, but that wasn't that impressive because of what we had seen from the Bears. But last night, of course, was impressive. And I thought, shout out to the offensive coordinator, Johnny Morton, because he had been getting criticized, Ben Johnson this, Ben Johnson that. And he did a great job, as you saw that one play call. They had a flea flicker. They had a great mix of the run and the pass. And Dan Campbell showed I'm the one, and I'm sure he's still great friends with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, I would think. But they were getting a lot of credit for what he did. He did turn that franchise around. And I think he showed that last night. And the way they did it was his style. They were daring, they had some trick plays, and they just punched the Ravens in the mouth. So I thought that was a big win for Dan Campbell. And the narrative, I don't think we're going to hear much about Ben Johnson and Aaron Green being missed in Detroit.
That feels like that's over. That was a off season, and then the Packers game storyline. But this.
Yeah, this was it was an awesome game for the Detroit Lions. And, it's why I'm such a firm believer in nuance and why I'm comfortable saying, I kind of had a similar take with the Ravens, but just in the reverse way, where I was like, hey, that was a great game by the Lions against the Bears, but listen, the Bears are our mess, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't have to go overboard and be like, that was amazing. This is great. That was a statement, this or that. And fans don't always want to hear that after a big win, right? They just want to celebrate and get really excited, and which I get, but I really strive to bring nuance, and not just when the team is winning. I'm like, oh, hey, this is amazing. They're great. Everyone's amazing. This is great. When they lose, I'm like, this is the worst team in the NFL. They need to be better. It's just always try to find the middle ground, always try to find that nuance. And a game like this, and this is why I feel comfortable saying it, blew me away. I mean, I could not be more impressed and have any more belief in this Detroit Lions team right now, because they were clearly the better team over the Ravens. And I roll my eyes when Nick's like, I was concerned about how Jared Goff was going to be in that play after that playoff game. What are you talking about? Jared Goff has been in the NFL for years. He's played in a Super Bowl, in an NFC championship game. What are you talking about? He's not some fragile, small, tiny hands quarterback that everyone is, not everyone, but that Nick tries to make him out to be. It's just, it's just so ridiculous. And like the Detroit Lions showed that they have trust in Jared Goff. It's unbelievable that Nick thinks that only one team believes in their quarterback, and that's the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, and like no other team believes in their quarterback. But the Detroit Lions don't have faith and trust in Jared Goff, or they think that Jared Goff is so fragile that he loses a playoff game and now he's just done. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars say otherwise, right? Asking him to make big throws and big moments says otherwise. And they've been doing that since, specifically 2023. Having him make some big throws on fourth down that haven't always gone their way. But they've obviously shown that they trust Jared Goff. And what I said in my herd clip is that, Jared Goff continues to prove that the most important aspect for a quarterback is to be able to throw the ball accurately, specifically difficult throws. It's not always just a 65-yard pass, but just difficult throws and difficult moments, and got to have it moments and run the offense, execute the offense, run the offense, run the offense, run the offense. You never watch Jared Goff and think these players are not on time, that they're not in rhythm, that he's not running the offense as he's being asked to do. So that is the most important thing. I always talk about some of these quarterbacks, and I keep saying, I keep using the words like everything feels kind of slippery, and I don't mean slippery as in like, hey, they're avoiding sack stuff, like slippery where it just feels like they're skating on ice right now, and it just like things just don't feel in rhythm in time. It just doesn't feel connected. It's why we always say like on time and in rhythm. And unfortunately phrases like that can sometimes get overused, but like you do hear, especially when you hear a lot of retired quarterbacks giving commentary, they're always talking about on time, in rhythm, on time, in rhythm. And they're doing it for a reason. And you see an offense like this, and it's just so on time and in rhythm. And when you are, that's dependable, that's reliable. And that can be used to expose a defense that is struggling. It's why we saw the Bears be able to have a great game against the Dallas Cowboys in that moment. And it's why we saw the Ravens here have high moments, but in the got-to-have-it moments, they play so much more unstructured and freestyle. And it's just like, well, hopefully the player can make a play in that moment. And if not, I guess we're just not going to make the play. And that's not how a team like the Detroit Lions operate. And Dan Campbell deserves a massive amount of credit for consistently getting this team ready to play. The Ravens did not feel like they were ready to play. The Lions felt absolutely ready to play. They are just always on one there, and it's just great to see. It's just great to see. And this is why it's just like, if you remember Nick's take, I think it was last week, he was just kind of saying, Dan Campbell just knows. Dan Campbell, the way how he's talking right now just makes me feel, to me that signals that he just knows that his team isn't very good this year. And I was like, what? What are we saying? No, he's irritated right now because they're not playing their best ball and they're not winning. But like he's not like already making a conclusion of like, yeah, my team's just not that good and now I'm irritable about it and whatnot. So I just, multiple things can be true at the same time. You can get off to a sluggish start. You could take advantage of a bad defense. You can lose a great coordinators. Like you can still have some issues that you're concerned about, whether it be the O-line or even still a coordinating issue to a degree, right? Right now we've seen the Lions get after two bad defenses, the Cowboys and the Ravens. And so the next step is like, I want to see what this offense looks like against a great defense. We saw against the Packers a great defense, and it wasn't this sharp. It wasn't this high quality. There was no way for them to find their way through it. That to me is the next step for the Lions, to where we can start to have like real, undeniable confidence of like, okay, they can continue to find their way through this. But I mean, all in all, still, just a 100% victory for the Lions, and this was all about the Lions, and they won this game by every metric. By when you're watching this game, like I always talk about, it's just like one of the core things I like to do when I watch a game. I just think to myself, who's just a better team? I don't, because I do look at who's converting third downs and how many pressures are you getting. and the red zone conversions, and I still look at all that type of stuff, and I zoom into individual moments too of like it was 3rd and 3, and they called this play like, but at the core of it, I still always just like to sit back and just be like, I'm watching this game. I'm not trying to think of all the individual moments, the big plays, the big runs, the stats, the percentages of this or that. It's just, who do I think is just a better team right now? Who's just playing better football? And it was a Detroit Lions, and it's just like, it's like not even a question about it. And it's why you, after a game like this that ended up being 3,830, and the score was really what, 33, 20, 38, 24. But even before that last touchdown run, they were still, the game was really going to be closed out by I think a touchdown or so, or within 7 or so points is really kind of what most of the game had been, right? Most majority of the game had been about a 1-score game, but it still felt like the Lions were just 100% in complete control of every single moment. And that is a bigger takeaway to me than whatever the final score ended up being, whether you want to look at it from like a 3,830 angle or 3,826 or 31, it would have been 3,126 or again, whatever the heck it is. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Detroit Lions? What did they prove last night? Are you surprised that they have faith in Jared Goff and that he, I guess, didn't just become the world's worst quarterback in the NFL after having a rough outing in a playoff game? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. It's whether you agree with me or disagree with me. Either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.